Before I start my video and before I show what's just arrived at my house, I'd like to show something else. Here is a magazine. It's called Tancha, published by Vintage Japanese Motorcycle Club. And this is a very interesting magazine. It has a lot of content, but the reason I'm showing this is to say that what we're doing on YouTube hasn't really got much correlation with what's going on when it comes to vintage Japanese motorcycles, or perhaps any motorcycle. So this hobby or interest is something that occurs off the internet for the most part. So YouTube isn't really the most helpful resource. And it's a vast industry. So there are many companies that serve this particular hobby or interest. And if you flick through the pages of this magazine, just to say, for the purposes of giving an example, there are many people, none of whom have a YouTube channel, and they're involved in restoring and riding and racing old motorcycles, and they do it to a very high standard. So this is a rather different kind of scene to what's typically seen in YouTube channels. So the standards of competence or mechanical competence tend to be a bit higher with people who are involved in the offline motorcycle restoration or fixing, say, hobby. So yeah, that's quite interesting. So let's just flick through a couple of examples, and here we have an example of people restoring bikes. Here's a random one, Honda CB 175, and there'll be 750s and all sorts of machines in here. And the industries that serve this are advertised at the back. So if you look at machine services, machine shops around the country, and the contact details, they'll always have a telephone number, but an email address as well is quite common, but not always. So we have here welding services, fabrication, modifications, paintwork, carburetor servicing. Yeah, it's absolutely everything. So that includes metal polishing, renovation. There will be people who do chroming and all sorts of things like that. So this is rather different from what we see on YouTube. And this is nice. I wonder what that is. Yamaha Midnight Special. Could be a little, it could be interesting. Somebody did a very good job on that one. Yamaha Midnight Special. Okay, so let's move on to what we have. Here it is, the revelation. This is a Yamaha XS750. I believe it's the E model, manufactured 1979, registered 1980. And as you can see, it's a genuine barn find. It's very dirty. Parts of the electronics, relay, fuse box, etc. are missing. That's what you get. So I bought this for a specific purpose, and it isn't a Kawasaki. I mean, the only reason that I generally prefer Kawasaki's is because I'm familiar with the nomenclatures, the model designation numbers, which engines fit to which frames, which camshafts can be swapped over, things like that. Otherwise, there isn't really very much difference in between Japanese manufacturers of the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. And I don't know anything about these bikes, but this is an interesting one because it's a triple. I've never ridden a triple. Ridden singles, twins, and four-cylinder bikes. Generally, what I found is with four-cylinder bikes at lower speeds, it's a bit car-like, a bit boring. With twins, the new ones are really good. The old ones are very vibey. and they tend to be slightly better for shorter journeys. So I bought this for a specific purpose, and that is I want to do some traveling, a long tour. And as you will note, just from the look of it, from the side of it, we can deduce certain facts. Additionally, I've had a vehicle check carried out, and I know a little bit, just a little bit of the history from what I've been told and from what the vehicle checked has revealed. For example, the original colour was silver or grey. This has been painted, so the previous keeper acquired it in August 99, and almost immediately afterwards they resubmitted, they changed the V5 to make it blue. So this blue is probably their work. If not, it's a different tank. I think it is their work because it's crackling. It's certainly a lot better painting than I could do. I mean, painting and bodywork is my weakest point. But generally, I like my bikes to be mechanically perfect. This one will be no exception. It will be mechanically perfect, if not cosmetically. So I might just leave the tank as it is. But anyway, from the bits and pieces that are here and bits that are missing, the cones, some people call them velocity stacks, for the manner in which they're supposed to work, really be better with the airbox. So this looked like the original CV carburetors. So I was looking on forums for common faults and issues with these, and apparently some people say the middle cylinder doesn't get cooled properly. Now, it ought to get cooled properly, but it is noted that from the factory the middle carburetor is slightly richer, in order to aid with cooling, especially the exhaust port is very important. Additionally, I can see that some sort of work has been done. These look like aftermarket clocks, and if they work, I'll keep them. So yeah, I'm not really, keep it everything original. I'd like to keep it original. Everything aftermarket tends to be crap, to put it bluntly. The aftermarket parts, just terrible. But yeah, I'm going to keep things like this. I mean, this isn't even original, doesn't mind. Yeah, so little things like that. I mean, the original indicators are much better than anything you could buy. Or, in fact, this is strange. Brake and tail light setup, so switch that around. Not really very happy with that. But anyway, the bike's good. Hagon shocks were fitted at some point. Side panels made of some crude alloy, just cut to size. Doesn't really make any difference to me. So yeah, I've had to disconnect the front brakes calipers in order to wheel it over here. The rear tyre doesn't hold any air. This makes it just a little more difficult, but that doesn't matter because all service parts and everything that's required to make this perfect mechanically be done. The forks are in remarkably good condition, considering they're 45 years old. So yeah, bikes of this vintage attract me because of the quality of the parts. I mean, I'm not going to say they're better than modern bikes because they certainly aren't. Modern bikes are better by design. Many features on them are just superior technology, but for its time, this is a very, very good bike. So it's a dual overhead cam triple, and if I recall correctly, I should mention I've printed out a workshop manual. You can only get them, you can only download the manual, the Yamaha workshop manual, and that isn't good enough. So I did pay for the PDF to be printed out by a printing company, and that's what I'll be using in this project. So I don't know if it'll be several videos or just one video, as I tend to prefer. I'm not really a YouTube guy. This bikes are my hobby sort of thing. And yeah, missing a key. So there's a few different issues. I don't really want to have any more dealings with the previous owner, but I can sort out these issues. Other things I've noted, for the most part, is nothing really. Nothing really. Well, I was about to talk about the engine. Yeah. So Firing order is 1, 2, 3 from the left. It's quite unusual. It's like you have a typical Japanese four-cylinder bike from the 70s, 80s, 90s, fire 1, 4, 2, 3, or something like that. So this does tend to have a slight rocking couple effect. A bit like 180 twins, British twins, a bit like that. So it has a lot of character and it makes a nice noise apparently when it works. It also has quite a bit of torque for what it is and for the period. So you can compare the power and torque with this with something like a new MT-07. Though of course this won't handle as well. The brakes aren't as good, the tires aren't as good, the frame isn't as good. But as a basis for a project, I don't think you can really beat 70s, 80s, 90s Japanese bikes. So really, you can trust them. I mean, once they're properly sorted as per the manual and everything else, they're no trouble at all. People also note that the Kickstarter sometimes has an issue. I haven't tried to force this, but I don't think it goes down. It could be seized. So yeah, this came out somebody's barn, somebody who lives quite some distance away, and I'm not expecting anything to work at all. Indeed, the front brake is disconnected, least of the trouble. Okay, or is there? No, actually, the front brake is connected. It appears to be a headlight that was fitted by someone. I don't have an original Japanese one, unless I'd fit it. So I don't know anything about the model range. So some things may in fact be original when I assume they're not. So as an air-cooled engine, they have certain limitations. I mean, I note that the engine is black and will aid in when idling. So middle cylinder cooling, electrical problems people have reported on forums and things. I'll take them with a pinch of salt because one of the solutions was to interject an additional circuit to compensate for resistance in the wiring loom, and to me that doesn't seem like the right approach intrinsically. The wiring loom can be restored, refreshed, and made to work as intended, but I could be wrong about that. I may learn something about that as I proceed. Sometimes the middle gear is neglected apparently, and there's a second gear fault issue which emerges. Apparently because of a lack of a shim where it's required. Some kind of shimming is required in the middle gear. Additionally, the shaft drive is rare for it to be properly maintained, but it's something we can do. It's a complex system. I've had the Kawasaki shaft drive before, and it's a very dependable system. It rides slightly strangely, but yeah, that's what I want. So yeah, I want this for long distance touring, so this will be a long time. I'm not going to rush this one. I usually am very, very quick on my projects, and my finishes and preparation for it aren't really as good. Painting isn't as good, but mechanically I think it's I think that I can get this sorted pretty easily, and yeah, that's all there is to it. So I'm pretty excited, and this may be a couple of years before you see it again. I don't know, or if I do more videos in the meantime.